Hello, this is Leon again with another session. This session I'm going to be talking about Emunah. And Emunah is what people more commonly refer to as faith. However, faith does not use the word Emunah properly. So we're going to look at faith and Emunah and kind of go from there. So, to begin with, we're going to talk about where it turns up in the Bible. And people may know that in Habakkuk, the second chapter, I believe, is when the famous words that the righteous will live by their emunah, or translated faith. Now, for those that are really only excited when you have New Testament stuff, Paul uses this same thing in Romans 1, and where he is quoting Habakkuk that the righteous lives by their faith. So now we need to understand what actually is faith and how it relates to emunah. So I took the liberty of putting a couple of ideas that I think of when someone says faith. Sometimes a belief, a religion, theology, the intellect, something that's in your mind. When I think of those type of things, I think that's a general conception of faith when the people uses that word. However, emunah means nothing of these two things. Emunah, the Hebrew word is oman, and oman means an artist. So emunah has to do with actions. It has to do with doing things. And this is the point that James is trying to make in his book, that emunah without works is dead. Why is that? Because the very definition of emunah is actions, is works, is doing something. It's not the intellect. It's not a religion. It's doing something. In his context, emunah is doing the works of Torah. And again, in that same book, that he says that you will see my emunah by what I do. He's basically just saying the same thing twice, kind of in two different ways. So this is the differentiation between faith that we normally say and emunah. There, hopefully, you get the idea that these are two totally different things. One is more a belief that you want to share your faith with someone, your religion. I've chosen whatever religion it is. I want to share that with someone else, versus emunah, which is doing something, action. It's a very, very dynamic thing. A person of emunah is making an impact on the world around them, whereas faith is it's a religion. I can share different things. It's information. Does it change the world? I don't know. But emunah definitely does change the world. Okay, so one other thing I wanted to mention is the concept of something that's faith-based. So to kind of continue with this, faith-based, generally speaking, is some sort of curriculum or psychological framework that is based on the New Testament or Christianity's understanding of whatever it is. So kind of in a nutshell, someone has some faith-based curriculum, it's going to be something based on New Testament type of stuff, generally speaking. It's kind of faith-based, kind of relates to that. So let's develop the idea of emunah even more, because emunah, Habakkuk, is from the prophets of Israel. Abraham, in Genesis 15, we're probably familiar with that, where it says that Abraham believed, or in actuality, Abraham had emunah in the words that God said. So, only reason I bring this up is that if we want to understand this word emunah properly, we need to go to the source. We need to go to Torah, the prophets. We need to go back to how the Jews understand this Hebrew word emunah and how to apply this. So there's a lot more to be said about emunah, but I want to only talk about three elements of emunah. The most basic level of emunah is an awareness of God. It's kind of like in a general sense of Emunah is just a general belief in God. I don't know if you want to say it at next level, but it could be a next level. That it's called hashgacha in Hebrew, and it means divine supervision. And to develop this even more, that if someone has emunah, they have hashgacha, and that is that God is the supreme king of everything that happens. Everything happens in the world because the decree that God decrees it. From the smallest microscopic event to the biggest cosmic event is because the king, God, decrees it. Hashgacha. And the next one is God is good. This is underlying thing, because from our perspective, sometimes we look at the world and we say that something bad happens. That's based on our subjective opinion about something that God does. Everything that God does is good, and there's a purpose behind that. From a Christian perspective, people are familiar with, all things work together for good for those that love God. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's Paul talks about that. But someone having that mentality that no matter what happens, it may seem bad. However, from my perspective, but if I drill down, there's something that good comes from it. So these are three elements of Emunah. And the reason why I want to mention these things is because from a Christian perspective, you'll hear this quite often. Or not just Christian, but where's God? Something happened. Where's God? Again, that is a lower level of Emunah, because if someone has a higher level, they don't question where God is. He's where he's always been. You could go to the highest of heights of the heavens, or you can go to the depths of hell. He's there because he controls and makes everything. Another one is, say something happens and then someone says, I'm mad at God, I'm walking away, and they left the faith. Again, that's a lower level of emunah, because this thing that happens to them, it upset them so much that they're angry with God, or they want to walk away, or this is a bunch of junk and everything like that. That's a lowering of emunah. So these are the elements of emunah, an awareness of God taken to another level, that God is in direct supervision of everything. Another thing that you may hear is someone will say that, this world is, Satan's in control of this world. Here again, that's a negation of hashgacha. You have this world, and we don't go into the details, but there obviously is demonic influence. But to say that this world is Satan's world, that negates hashgacha, that God is in supreme rulership of everything. So these are just some elements of emunah and the counterbalance. And if one wants to increase in emunah, that these are three areas that one needs to increase in. And it's not enough to say that I believe in XYZ, some religion, and think that someone is a person of emunah from the very beginning. Emunah is something that increases as someone spends more time with God, and they develop the relationship, and God reveals himself more to them, that God, his ultimate unity, that he's everywhere, becomes more apparent to the person, and they start to walk in this. And the supreme sign of someone that has a high level of emunah is this: they're calm. They're not stressed out by anything, because they have a high level of hashgacha. Whatever happens to me, whether it's bad or good, it comes from God, and I can always rest in that, and I can be calm. If someone is angsty, all anxiety about stuff, their emunah is a little lacking. The anxiety that they have is, by very definition, shows that they need to work on emunah in and of itself. Anyway, so we continue with the series, develop these ideas a little more, but this is just an intro to what is Emunah. Thank you.